think that's also very true to life, just because you're the villain in one movie doesn't mean that is the only thing about you. It's like everyone has different sides of themselves.
Today, I'm talking to Emily Ting about her new Netflix movie, Tall Girl 2. Emily, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So one thing that I really liked about the movie is it sort of acknowledged the idea that, yes, being tall isn't the worst thing that could happen to you, but it doesn't negate how that feels to Jodie. And I feel like that's really true to life for teenagers. Like everything feels like the end of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think at that age, everything feels so magnified. But if you kind of take a step back, you could kind of gain a wider perspective about where you fit in. So, even though in the first movie, I feel like maybe not everyone could relate to being tall or think that that's an actual problem that someone should feel disadvantaged by, but it was very true to Jodie's journey. And that's something that she had to deal with, and dealing with the mean girls bullying her. So everyone deals with different issues. And it may not seem like a big problem to you, but it may be for someone else. So always be empathetic. That's what I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing that I really liked about the movie is the fact that Jodie sort of found peace with her adversary, with Kimmy. And I feel like that's something that wouldn't have happened in a teen movie not that long ago. Do you feel like there's sort of a cultural shift there?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I really loved about the sequel is that, I feel like all the side characters and the supporting players from the first movie all got their own arcs in the second one. So, whereas Kimmy was very much a one-note villain in the first one, now she's the one who ends up helping Jodie. So I think the fact the evolution of their relationship is definitely very heartwarming arc in the new film. And I think that's also very true to life, just because you're the villain in one movie doesn't mean that is the only thing about you. It's like everyone has different sides of themselves.
Right. Another thing that I think a lot of people will relate to about this movie is the idea of that sort of internal negative self-talk. Can you tell me a little bit about how you developed that?
Yeah, well, so this is the concept that Sam Wolfson, the writer of the franchise, has built in. And that was honestly what drew me to the project. Just this whole idea of the negative self-talk. Because I feel like, whereas a lot of people may not necessarily relate to being tall, everyone could relate to having that negative self-talk, that little inner voice that tells you that you're not good enough. I mean, it's something that, as someone who's in her 40s, that I still deal with. Definitely. So when I read the script and I realized that was going to be the bully this time around, I instantly fell in love with the project, and I knew I had to do it just because I know it's something that so many people deal with regardless of age. And I just hope that this movie could just let people know that they're not alone in dealing with that, and that it's okay. You will get through it.
Yeah, definitely. Now this movie, it has a lot of those sort of beloved tropes from teen comedies, teen romance movies. Do you have any favorite hallmarks of the genre?
Yeah. So one of my favorite recent teen rom-com series is To All the Boys I Loved Before on Netflix, which I think first of all, it was so groundbreaking in its representation of featuring an Asian American female as a protagonist, but also groundbreaking in it revived the entire teen rom-com genre. And that's something, it's a genre that I've always loved growing up, and Hollywood sort of stopped making it for a while. So I'm really happy that Netflix sort of brought it back. And that was a series that I thought was so successful, has so much heart, so sweet, so charming. And it was definitely one that I shared with my team as something that we want to aspire to in terms of, elevating the Tall Girl franchise into that To All the Boys level.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what do you hope is sort of the major takeaway from this movie for viewers?
Yeah, I mean, I think, just in terms of the movie dealing with issues of anxiety and these sort of mental health issues that I feel like a lot of teenagers and just people in general are going through 2 years into this pandemic.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I mentioned before, if this movie could help one person feeling a little less alone in their battle with anxiety and with mental health, I think it's absolutely worth it. And I think the whole message of, you know, don't listen to that inner voice that's trying to tear you down and find the positive voice from within to lift you up. That's a very positive message that I feel like a lot of people, teenager or not, could really use right now.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you mentioned earlier that one thing you liked about this movie was the exploration of the side characters. Was there a particular one that you wanted to explore?
Yeah, so for me, I feel like Kimmy's arc was the one that I was most blown away by because she was so one note in the first movie, and to give her this full, beautiful arc, you know, I thought was just really lovely. And I don't want to spoil anything, but I love the arc that Farida goes through in the second film. I think it would delight a lot of fans of the first movie, and it's quite unexpected. So I was really happy to see that in the film. And even like Stig, who ended the first film sort of as the villain, you know, he did that thing to Jodie, which watch the first film and you'll understand what happened. But yeah, he starts off the second film being kind of the guy that nobody wants to be friends with, but then he really earned everyone's friendship by the end. So I just think there's so much positivity in the second film in terms of redeeming all the side characters that might have ended the first one as villains or as the outcast.
Yeah. So for my last question, Tall Girl 3, if that happens, where would you want to go with that?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I don't know if I'm going to be involved with Tall Girl 3. I haven't been invited back to the party yet, but if I can, I would, you know, like, so Tall Girl 1 and 2 happened in junior year. So I would love to see what happens to them in senior year and just grappling with applying to college and what's the next step in their life. And yeah, and just like dealing with becoming an adult. So I would really love to see that. And just on a visual level, I would love to stage a prom scene. That's always been my dream, to design a prom on film.
All right. Well, I'm rooting for that then.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for me. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, thank you so much.